Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Baseline Podcast. I'm Ben, that's Josh, and we are alive and well here in the great month of February, which is wild that we're in February already, Josh. I feel like yesterday was Christmas. We are in February, which means spring training's coming around the corner, the NFL draft's coming, March Madness. But I know that it's been like a winter wonderland over there in lovely Ohio. How are you doing? Are you surviving over there?
Yeah, I might look tired, and that's because I've been awake for 20 minutes, but that's how it is every episode that we record. But for as far as the weather goes, we still got a lot of snow from our winter storm that we got last week, and it's been sticking around because it's been not really any warmer than 15 degrees. It's been getting below zero in the evening. Today, though, it got up to about 30 degrees, Ben, so it felt warm enough that you could maybe, take a layer or two off, maybe make a trip to Lake Erie and go swimming. I don't know what your you know, favorite kind of activities are when it heats up. When it gets 45 degrees warmer than it usually is sometimes. Usually calls for, a trip to get into the sand, get in the water. But yeah, we still got a bunch of snow here, and I don't know if it's going to leave anytime soon. But yeah, it's looking a lot more like winter outside than it has been.
Yeah, it is one of those things where it's kind of wild. I, Here we got 4 inches of snow today, which is wild to me. Within like a 6 to 7 hour frame. But again, it's starting to get cold again. I feel like we haven't got as cold as what you guys have gotten, which means worries me. It could be March. We'll see. But you know what's not cold, Josh, is football hirings are not cold. They're pretty red hot right now. In many cases. I know we have some topics to talk about in football, and we'll also cover some baseball topics, something good for the Reds for the first time in 6 months. And we'll finish up with some basketball talk as well. So, Josh, kick us off. What's been going on so far in the football world?
Yeah, we were discussing just some of the big coaching moves last week, and we've seen some. I think almost every single vacancy has been fulfilled now. We're actually getting a lot of news about some really hot assistant hires, like Matt Nagy, I think is going to go be the
Yeah, he
offensive
is. Yeah.
coordinator for John Harbaugh at the Giants, and I think Jonathan Gannon is going to go be the defensive coordinator for the Packers, filling in for Jeff Hafley over there. But the last head coaching vacancy we haven't really gotten to discuss, and it's because it happened literally after we finished recording our last episode, like a day later, was the Browns hiring Todd Monken, a
Hmm.
name that is not any stranger to Cleveland Browns fans. One, because he has been the offensive coordinator of the Baltimore Ravens the last couple years. Two, if you're a Buckeye fan, you've gone against him, I believe, at the college ranks because he's
Yep.
been the play caller for the Georgia Bulldogs, but he's also been in-house, Ben. He has been in Cleveland before as the play caller uh, under Kevin Stefanski in the past, and now he's back in the building as a head coach. So I don't know if they were able to get him won over with familiarity, but I think this is the first time that Todd has been a head coach. And while it's not really personally a hire that makes me super excited, it is a hyper profile guy than I would have thought Cleveland could have gotten given the situation. We can talk about the ramifications of this, like what it means for Jim Schwartz now and the reaction that we got from him after this hire was gone. But just in a vacuum, Todd Monken is the Browns head coach. Does it make you excited? Does it make you disappointed? Like I said, it's a bigger name than I thought Cleveland could get given their situation, but it's still just kind of like an to me.
I think it's an because it's not a hot name, right? Like it's not like one of these young 30-year-olds, like a McVay was, like some of these other guys. You heard different names like Kingsbury, and you heard also, the Shield House and all these different guys that were young, up and coming. But there's something that I thought someone said that was very interesting is that the Todd Monken hire is a safe hire to figure out what you have. And I think that's a very good point, right? I think Todd Monken can get the best out of your offense, which has been atrocious really the last 2 years. He's a run first guy. The assistants that he's bringing in right now are very much a run heavy kind of system that they come from with Baltimore. That makes me interested to see, with Judkins not knowing how healthy he's going to be at the beginning of the year, Do we see a Nick Chubb returning? Again, I don't think he's anywhere near where he was, but again, Nick Chubb's probably one of his best years was the when Monken was OC, right? And I think yes, he doesn't have head coaching experience, but you saw him in the interaction he had with the staff as he came in his first day. They were very appreciative of him, very respectful of him. Even Shadur Sanders had a smile on his face. Now, Shadur smiles a lot, but we do know that the Ravens wanted him, right? Like there was this whole thing about they wanted him. They were right a few picks after the Browns. Um, and I think Munkin really wanted him. I think Munkin's a guy that can help you figure out is Shadur the guy long term? Because let's be honest, they shouldn't get a quarterback this time around. But the following year is where if you really don't have a quarterback, that's where you go get your guy. So I'm interested to see what happens. Um, I'm not surprised that they went with the Munkin hire. I think the Schwartz thing. I mean, either Schwartz or Munkin, either way, you get like a 60, 65, 70-year old, um, you know, 60, 65, 70-year old basically coach. You basically only have them for what, 5, 6 years. I also heard conspiracy theories that people think they're getting him for the new stadium and then they're gonna like let him go and get some new hot shot. But we'll see what happens. I like the hire though, to be honest with you, Josh. I think maybe a little bit more than you. I think I just because like the offensive brain, and if you can keep Schwartz, again, that's a big if. Then this is a home run hire because you got the an offensive guy, you have a defensive guy, and you've got that kind of figured out. Um, but we'll see what happens in the long term. I don't know. I guess that makes sense. I hope. Again, I'm kind of like you. I'm not like super pumped when I heard the name, but then after I thought about it for a while, I was like, you know what? We could have done a lot worse, and the Browns have done a lot worse. To be honest, hiring within doesn't usually work in the NFL, and they went without. So
Yeah, to your point about being run first, he, of course, was the coordinator of the Browns in 2019. Nick Chubb had a solid season there. With Georgia, the 3 years he called plays there, they tended to be more of a run first offense. Same with Baltimore with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. They've tended to be more run first too. But he actually was calling plays for the Buccaneers 2016 to 2018 when Jameis Winston was making his 5,000-yard season, I believe, in that stretch. He has coached quarterbacks, he has coached receivers, so he's very familiar with the pass side of the ball as well. So overall, good play caller. Right now, he is 59. I think he turns 60 at some point this season. But yeah, as far as Jim Schwartz, if they can retain him, I mean, that's super cool. This guy has been uh, working some magic with this defense the last few years. It's been about the only bright spot that you could really be excited about. And of course, the reports came out after they hired Monken that Schwartz most likely was going to leave because he wasn't getting a shot to be the head coach there. He thought he did his time and deserved a shot at doing that, but might be going out of the building now. Schwartz is who I thought they were going to end up getting anyways, just because, like I said, there's not a whole lot to attract anybody to the Browns' job right now. Schwartz being in the building, you might want to get another crack at being a head coach was who I thought we were going to be like doing a internal hire. But like you said, usually when you promote from within in the NFL, it doesn't seem to work the best all the time. But yeah, we'll see how Todd does. Still not super optimistic about this season, but we'll see what kind of a roster they get put together because
hmm
the regime that put this in this situation is still in charge. We'll see what Andrew Berry does this offseason once free agency comes around, see how they do with another draft. But yeah, I had to get that discussion in there since we just missed it. I know a lot of people have already said their pieces on Monken, and you know how unfortunate it is that he's not a black coach coming into the building, but I think we're okay with it in Cleveland. Like I said, given the
I
situation that we got, this is about as good as we could do.
hey, quality matters no matter who you are, how you look. If you're a good coach, that's who you want.
Yep. Trying to think if there's any other hot assistant hires. We had already talked about Brian Daboll getting hired, right?
Yeah. I
Okay.
think
Yeah, I think
we had mentioned it because it wasn't finished yet, but we had mentioned what that would mean.
that's right. He was either going to be the head coach somewhere in Pittsburgh, or maybe it was I don't remember which head coaching job he was up for, but yeah, decided to be a play caller again.
Which is
Which I
smart.
think, yeah. Which reminds me, did we talk about Mike McCarthy to Pittsburgh?
I don't think we did because I think we kind of glanced over some of them because they were all like
I
not
think,
finalized when we were talking. A lot of them
yeah,
were kind of like in the moment. We didn't want to say it until it was finalized,
yeah. Well, I'll go ahead and say like a quick piece on it then. Pittsburgh's been that organization where it's like they've hired three coaches in the last 60 years or
which
something
is
like that.
wild,
Like
by the way. Which is just as a
they've been a
Browns fan
model
is
of,
wild.
yeah, they've been a model of stability in this league for a while. They got more Super Bowls than any other organization, and I think there's a reason for that. Is like they just from the top down, they tend to do things the right way. So bringing in Mike McCarthy, a guy that's I'd say on the back end of his coaching career, a guy that's already been let go of from two previous jobs, seems to
Hmm.
be a little out of the norm for like a typical Steelers hire because you could very well be looking for another head coach 5 years from now, whether it's
Yeah.
because he decides to retire because he doesn't get the job done that you're hoping for and you end up firing him anyway. But when you look at Mike, you kind of know what you're getting in a sense where you're going to have some really good offense. He's worked really well with Aaron Rodgers before, if that's the quarterback that they decide to go with again this season. But yeah, it was a little shocking to me just for that reason. I would have thought that they would have put a little more thought into it, and maybe they did, and they're just, the options weren't there for them. But I don't think this is a guy that's going to be in the building for the next 20 years like some of their other coaches have been.
No, I think this is a very much a fill in gap type of hire. You kind of get a guy that I think someone said this, like keeps the quality up, gives you a shot to win now until you can kind of figure out where you want to go from there. So that's where I think it is. I think Mike Tomlin will be back in the coaching ranks after this year. I really do. I think there's someone that's going to snap him up. It wouldn't be surprised if it was like a team like the Bengals or somewhere like that. Because I think he is a heck of a coach. He just kind of ran his course, right? Like you have, you know, Josh, we've talked about this. Sometimes coaches, you run the course, and you've been there for a long time. Harbaugh, the same thing. Like you just couldn't really get it done with a team. You move on to the next one,
Yep, I think so. And it's again going to have to be a trade that happens to make that
which is
happen since he
wild.
stepped down and wasn't fired. So, hey, that's some buzz that's going on around the league as far as hires go. But Ben, we got, this big game that people have been talking about
I
lately
know.
too on the radio, all the advertisements. The
I
big game is
know.
this Sunday.
Which, to be
Uh,
honest, I completely forgot that it was this Sunday. Um,
College football heavy podcast problems.
it is true. It is true.
Hey, so Super Bowl this weekend. We just finished the Pro Bowl games, got that out of the way.
I'm sorry. There
Now
was
we
Pro
can
Bowl games. I didn't realize that there was.
multiple games, Ben, multiple games, not just
Oh,
one game between the best players of the AFC versus the best players of the NFC anymore. You can watch them do all kinds of
oh,
like recess style games like playing dodgeball and
hmm.
whatnot. Yeah.
So basically, anything that we could do
Yeah.
at a normal level.
Yeah. Games that we could play, but maybe they're so much better at
Interesting.
it because they're super athletic and big and strong. I don't know.
And this shows that they're the best players in the NFL. How?
I don't know, but I feel like I wouldn't want Josh Allen to wing a dodgeball at me and get hit by that. I feel like that might hurt.
Yeah. I do miss the old days when you had safeties lighting up punters. I just miss those days, man. Like I miss the days when I actually watched. It might have been ugly to watch and not really no one cared, but at least it was football. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's and especially when you have Shadur Sanders making the Pro Bowl. I'm just it's so ironic. But
Once you
we're at
get
the
down
Super
to
Bowl.
like your 17th alternate, you just gotta suck it up and be like, you know what? We're just gonna have two quarterbacks. We will not have three quarterbacks on the roster
Especially
this
when
year.
Justin Fields and CJ Stroud said, "Yeah, we don't want to be there." That should
Hmm.
tell you something too.
Yeah. All that to say though, we talked about the AFC and NFC championship games last week. Waited for this week to talk more Super Bowl
Yeah.
specific. So Patriots are meeting the Seahawks, Ben. So far, the most drama I have heard coming out of this is just how Fanatics has screwed up all the merch and made terrible looking Super Bowl jerseys and player replicas for the fans, and how some of them are delayed and they've already sold out of a bunch of stuff online and whatnot. But that's Another story. We'll talk about what's going on the
We're
field
not
today.
used to that, Josh. We're not used to that as Browns fans. We don't know how that feels to not have our
Yeah,
Super
selling
Bowl
out of
stuff.
jerseys. What's that like?
We don't know what
Over here, you never buy jerseys because you don't know who's going to be on the team next year.
that is that is true.
No superstars worth investing in over here besides Myles Garrett. Anyway, though, Patriots and Seahawks, Ben. I think the Seahawks were your initial Super Bowl winner, if
Yes,
I'm not mistaken, or at
they
the very
were.
least, your NFC pick.
They were.
Uh, we got New England meeting them. This is a matchup that we've seen about a decade ago. If we've uh, get get into that situation again, we'll see if Seattle decides to run the football this time when they get to the goal line. I don't know. I would trust Kenneth Walker to do that. But we got quarterback matchup here, Ben, that is definitely exciting. Sam Darnold versus Drake May. That's like your fourth and fifth leading passers. But I think the story coming into this is going to be more so defensive performance. And if you even look at some of the rings that the Chiefs have won, Patrick Mahomes statistically was
Hmm.
underwhelming in those games. He'd have more interceptions and touchdowns, and he'd finish with under 200 yards. And uh, I think that this is going to be a game that's going to it's going to come down to the defense. And we've seen that already with how the teams got here. So just going through New England's journey, uh, this postseason, Ben, they've been absolutely insane as far as how they've been defending. They've been win about 209 yards a game, 71 rushing. They've allowed 8.7 points per game. They've won games by scoring just 16 and 10 points. And you can only do that if your defense has been super elite so far. And of course, there's reasons for that, right? They went against the Chargers first, who have one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL, if not the worst.
Hmm.
You can look at how PFF ranks all their offensive linemen. And while I think some of those player rankings suck sometimes, I'm sure if you're allowing a lot of sacks, you're not going to rank very high in general. Although the Chargers were still able to win a lot of games, it's just a situation where it's like if you go against a good defense, it's not going to be good for
Hmm.
you and Justin Herbert. And they made it through there. Then they get through to the Texans, another team that's got a really good defense. They're my pick out of the AFC for that reason, and because of the fact that they don't beat themselves. Well, they beat themselves. CJ
Hmm.
Stroud had, I think, 5 turnovers himself in that game. Then you get over to the Broncos, and that game was not only played in the snow, but you're playing against a backup quarterback, and you allowed hardly any points in that one.
Hmm.
I think they just got 7, the first touchdown. So there's reasons for why the defense has been erupting, but most of the season, the Patriots defense has been one that you can respect. It's just lately I think they've gotten a little bit of breaks every now and then. And Drake May, like I said, fourth leading passer this year. This postseason just has 533 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 picks, completed just over half his passes, and he himself has been sacked 15 times.
Mm.
That's kind of been my whole thing with how I didn't think that New England was going to get here. Is like the defense will get you so far, but Drake is still young, still inexperienced in these moments, and so far he hasn't done that great or been the reason. That Broncos game he had 80 yards, I think, is all it was. And I don't want people to take this as me being a Drake May hater. I consider myself very much a Drake May truther. I thought the MVP campaign this year was a joke because of how easy the strength of schedule was. But again, I thought New England could make a pretty solid season when we were talking preseason because of how that schedule shaped up. I just didn't think it was going to allow for them to get to the Super Bowl because you still got to play some good teams and they have faced some good defenses. It's just their defense has been better in most of these cases. And Drake's still just in year 2. I think that he's going to be, a mainstay in this league for New England. I think he's going to grow into a great quarterback. He's just not there yet. But I think you got to acknowledge, like they've gotten here for the defense. And flip-flopping over to the Seahawks side, Ben, they've very much gotten this far because of their defense also. It ranked number 1 in the league. Like just as far as the regular season goes, we don't have the 3-game sample size since they had the bye. So I'm just going to go with the regular season rankings. Seahawks were first in scoring defense. They were third in rush D. They were sixth in takeaways. They were fifth in first downs allowed. They had the lowest third down conversion percentage allowed. So if you get to third downs, you're not going to have a good time against Seattle. They were eighth in sacks and they were fourth in opponent quarterback passer rating also. So these guys, they get after it. They're super solid there. And then, the reason I didn't think that they could really get much farther than they have is because I hadn't seen Sam Darnold really win big games. Well, last week he was very much the reason, along with the defensive score on that muffed punt, that they won a game against the Rams. He came in, had a couple touchdowns, threw for about 350 yards himself. Um, like I said too, he was right behind Drake. He was the fifth leading passer as far as yards go. I think he was ninth or tied for ninth in touchdowns. The one area though that he struggled, and I think this is because of some inconsistency you can look from his game logs this year, is just that the quarterback rating, QBR, ranked 19th, I think at 55.5. And that was because while he did have some highs like last week, there were
Yeah.
some low moments too. But since Seattle's been so good, he's just been, cruising by uh, and getting away with, getting some bad games. And I'll just go ahead and read some of those right now. As far as if you want to believe that Sam Darnold can be the reason you win a game, well, against Pittsburgh earlier in the year, a playoff team, he had 295 yards, two touchdowns. Against the Jags, a playoff team, top 10 defense, he had 295 yards, two touchdowns in that one. He did face the Texans, and he was held to just 213 and a touchdown, but he also only threw one pick in that one. And the first matchup against the Rams in the regular season, he had four picks in that one. It wasn't a good time for him. But like I said, the third time they faced each other, he very much was the reason they won. So I wonder what version of Sam Darnold we're going to get. Obviously, you hope it's not the worst version that we've seen of him this year, where he's throwing four picks and no touchdowns. But uh, in a Super Bowl, in a game where it seems like you can't really count on the better quarterback to win the game because quarterbacks don't seem to really play a big part in these.
Hmm.
I'm looking at which defense do I think can get the job done more so. Like the Patriots defense so far has been getting away with bad quarterback play. And of course, you could argue, well, the quarterbacks are playing bad against them because the defense is that good. And like I said, I think there's some truth to that. But there's just been some uncharacteristic situations where it's like they got to play a backup quarterback in the last game. And CJ Stroud, a guy that hasn't beaten himself, that against a team, the Texans that haven't beaten themselves, just come out and he looked terrible in that one. I don't think that New England is going to catch another break like that with Seattle. If they did, it'd be absolutely
Yeah.
crazy. I think Seattle's been a little bit more stable, and I'm leaning towards them to win this game. But I'll turn it over to you
Yeah.
and find out if you're still very confident in your Super Bowl pick, what you think about New England's run so far, what you think about what you've seen from Seattle so far.
I mean, I'm always gonna be confident in my pick, Josh. You know that. I think it's funny because there's so many high state guys on New England, and I'm kind of like, pull it. No, this is the thing with New England, man, is like I don't know about you. Doesn't it always feel like they're like one play away from like getting killed? Like I feel like they're just like, okay, if the Broncos have their starting, if they have Knicks, like they probably lose that game. Like I just don't think this Patriots team is so much more dominant than every other team, in the NFL right now. Like I feel like the Patriots might not even be the top best team in the AFC. I know they've won the AFC, but I don't know if they are the best team talent wise. I just think that Vrabel's done a phenomenal job. He knows how to win. He's been there as a player. He's now been there as a coach. I I think the best thing for the Seahawks is they have to just play their game. I think that this is the best team the Patriots have faced probably in a while. And they have Jackson Smith and Jigba, who is playing at a level that there's most guys are not playing at a level. I mean, you go from, by the way, you still have Cooper Kupp on that team, like as your second option, which, yeah, he's not the same as he was a few years ago, but he's still good. Um, and the way they can run the ball right now, again, it's been kind of cool to see what's been going on. And so for me, I'm still leaning the Seahawks, and I actually predicted this a couple days ago. One of the guys I work with, he's a huge Seahawk fan, and so I know he's excited about my pick. But I have the Seahawks winning this game. I have them winning 28-24. I think it's going to be a close game, but I think the Seahawks offensively are going to kind of come alive late in that game to kind of pull away from it at the end.
Yeah, I need to talk about the head coaches, but I'm glad you brought that up because I think that plays into my narrative here again is that Mike Vrabel, defensive guy, McDonald over with the Seahawks, defensive guy.
Mm,
Everybody always talks about how you need to hire an offensive mind to do anything in this league. Like when you got a young quarterback, you want to get a guy that's got an offensive mind. He's going to work better with your young quarterback. Well, I think Mike Vrabel's worked out really well with Drake May. And while Sam Darnold's not like a young quarterback, he's still a guy that hasn't really done much in his NFL career up to this point. Certainly wouldn't think that it would happen with a defensive focused head coach, right? But here we
mhm,
are. So it's going to be fun seeing that chess match play out. Just I think there, even though Mike Vrabel's not like calling the plays defensively, he's still, very much involved in that game plan and that side of the ball. I'm sure he'll, have some kind of an impact on what the New England defense does. But I don't think there's going to be that many points in this one that you said. I'm really leaning into like
mm,
I don't think it'll be quite like that Rams Patriots Super Bowl that we saw where it was like 9-3 or something like that, and we just
mhm.
saw kicks. But I do think that we might only see one touchdown from each team. Uh, and I'm gonna go actually with a give me Seahawks. Mm, give me Seahawks 13-10. I'll go that low. I'll go that low with it.
Mm.
We're gonna have hopefully nice weather out in California. I believe they're playing this in San Francisco,
So
but
we're
even
gonna have
still,
more
actually no,
ads. We're gonna
I
have more
can't do
ads
that.
than
I'm
points. We're
I'm
gonna have
gonna
more
I'm gonna
ads than
add a couple more
points.
points. I'm gonna go 16-13. I'll give them each another field goal. 16-13.
So
That'll be our final score.
we
I'm
still
I'm
have a
leaning into the defensive grind.
we still might have a chance to have
We
more
still have
ads than
what?
points. We still might have a chance to have more ads than points for you.
Yeah, it's possible, but I mean, I that's just where where my head's at right now, Ben. We got two of the best defenses in the league. We got uh on one hand a quarterback that can win you games but has been inconsistent, and then we got another quarterback that just hasn't done well against any good teams this year yet. So
Hmm.
those guys meeting together with defenses that have been, just crushing it lately. That's kind of what I'm thinking. And even Patrick Mahomes hasn't, dominated a Super Bowl yet that they've
Hmm.
won. Those have been uh either one on like the last drive that he was able to execute or just the Chiefs defense when it was good. They were leaning into that. So though all those things kind of play into this. Of course, it could come out to the score that you just said, but I think I'm leaning for all those reasons, just for a lower scoring game. But
Yeah.
should be a
Mm.
fun one. Of course, Super Bowl, it's much more than just the game itself. It's the intros, it's the national anthem, it's the political halftime show that they got. It's all the Super Bowl commercials. It's quite a big spectacle out there.
Yeah. You mean the commercials that have sucked since we were like 12? That was the last time that any commercials were good.
Yeah, they've gone way down, dude. It's crazy. There's maybe one or two that just hit hard anymore. But yeah, you used to go and take your pee and poop break while the game was going on because you didn't want to miss any of the ads. And now you can totally go, and be in the bathroom for 5 minutes and miss absolutely nothing and just focus all your attention on the game. You
Yeah,
see,
that's what
you
the
laugh, but everyone knows I'm right. This is how you all treated this also.
this is how the halftime show is gonna be for me this year. I'm just gonna use that as my bathroom break.
Yeah, big time.
Oh
Oh my
man.
gosh, dude.
It is
So
sad.
that's Super Bowl. That's NFL. Yeah, we do got some a couple other topics we're going to discuss before we get out of here though, and that's first off has to be what's going on in the baseball world right now. We talked about some of the bigger offseason moves last week that have been going on, and we got a couple more that have gone down. We've seen Brandon Donovan just recently get traded over to the Mariners. We've seen the Giants go out and get Luis Arraez, but we saw the Cincinnati Reds come out and make a play. Uh, and it's a familiar face that everyone knows. It's Eugenio Suarez, who hit 49 home runs last year between his stints with the Diamondbacks and the Mariners. I believe it was 49. A guy that's hit
Hmm.
plenty of bombs for this organization already, and they got him on 1 year, $15 million, which I don't know. When you got a guy that just hits bombs like that, I would have thought that he could have gotten a little more money or a little bit more of a long-term deal. Uh, but maybe the fact that he slowed down last year and he's also aging at this point, I think he'll turn 35 this coming season.
Hmm.
But we've talked about Great American being like a more hitter-friendly ballpark before. Maybe this is a move that Suarez decided he's going to start chasing that 500 home runs for real now, and this is a spot that he can do that. Maybe somewhat proves that he's not going away anytime soon and gets a couple more years added onto this deal down the road. But I don't know, man. I like this. I like this for the Reds. Of course, when you're a fan of a team in Ohio, you're always hoping that you'll spend a little more money, that you'll go out and get a couple more guys. But for the roster they had last year, and then you go ahead and add Suarez to this, you got to feel a little more optimistic that hey, maybe we can actually finish a little higher above 500. Maybe we can make a play on the wild card now. I don't know, but I'll let the Reds fan tell us what Cincinnati thinks about this.
So I think Reds fans are absolutely excited. I think Reds fans are. He's a fan favorite. I mean, there was a video today that was posted about him showing up to sign his contract, and Jim Day. If you know Reds baseball, you know who Jim Day is, and he always says, "Jim Day, it's good to have a good day." Jim Day, like that's his kind of phrase, right? Like he loves the people. He's a great clubhouse guy. He's a guy who I think is going to be great for Ellie De La Cruz. I think he's going to show Ellie De La Cruz like, hey, the Reds offered you a big contract because they want you here. They want you to be a part of this. I played with the last superstar we had in Joey Votto, and he gave everything he had to this organization for the city. And I think he brings pop. And you asked, why he didn't get more years. I think there's a lot of different reasons. Um, I think the main reason is I think he's 34, going on 35. I also think that he's kind of in a weird spot because he's not really a good third baseman. He's really not anymore. He's not that great defender. Um, it is interesting because you have now Steer, who was a Gold Glove finalist at first base. Now you're going to have to probably move him to left field, which then means you're going to probably put Sal Stewart at first base, move him from second because he's just not a good second baseman at all, and he's not a great third baseman. You have a Gold Glover and keep Brian Hayes at third base. So I'm guessing, and he's not really a first baseman. He's never really played first base. The one thing about Yohan Suarez is that he's never missed games. Like the last 5 years, he's missed, I think, a total of like 20 games in the last 5 years, and that was mainly just sitting out. Um, so he's a very durable guy. He's a right-handed hitter, and as you know, in that ballpark, as a Guardians fan, you've seen a lot of your Guardians hit homers out of that left side of that ballpark. I mean, when you can get that breeze in the summer going, the ball flies out, and I think he's hit 49 home runs for the Reds. He's been there. He's hit almost 200 home runs for the Reds in his career. Also the other thing too is people don't realize there could be a lockout, and so I think that's why a lot of teams are hesitant to give more than a couple years. So they give that option. See what happens with everything going on with the bargaining agreement. But look, I love this move. Like personally, we didn't get Schwarber, and people were like, "Oh, well, this is not like Schwarber." I'm like, dude, they struck out about the same amount of times, and Suarez hit like 6 home runs less. Like you're getting basically a cheaper version, and again, a bat that that he's going to be a good locker room guy. And I'm big on being a big locker room guy. If you can do that as a veteran, we saw Joey Votto do that. I would love to see him here for the next 4 or 5 years, finish out his career in Cincinnati. He'd go down. I'll be honest, he would go down as one of the best Reds to play in the modern era, because he would have over probably 250 home runs. He would, he'd be that guy that we look to. And so I love this move, man. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, I just checked. So this will be his age 34 season, and maybe you're right about the lockout. That's something that will be interesting to see as time unfolds. But hey, some other moves that I was excited to see are actually of all places going on within the athletics organization,
I
and they
know.
extend their young shortstop Jacob Wilson 7 years, $70 million after he just had the rookie season he did last year, showing that he can be about an average defender at shortstop, but also a super good contact hitter. Basically, like your Stephen Kwan at shortstop, playing
Hmm.
an even harder defensive position. And when you look through the what the A's are doing, they've got Lawrence Butler locked up. I think on like a nice 5 year, $60 million deal or something like that. Tyler Soderstrom, I think, there's 7 years, $70 million also. Brent Rooker's on like 5 years, $50 million, and They at least got Nick Kurtz right now through 2030 or 2031. I'm sure that they'll be trying to get him next, but you just look around. This is like what the Atlanta Braves were doing a few years ago when they were getting
Hmm.
their young talent. They locked up Albies and Acuna and Austin Riley and Michael Harrison, all these guys, and they won a championship that way. And I'm not sure if the A's are ever going to get to that level. It always seems like they do really well every 7 to 8 years or so. Like they'll build up to these
Yeah.
really solid seasons, and then they'll of course either trade or let everyone go, and then build from the ground up again. It's very much the cycle that
Yeah. Yeah.
Cleveland fans are also very familiar with seeing. You get rid of all your superstars, you get prospects built from the ground up, and then that's the cycle of being a small market. But another reason I love this move, getting Jacob Wilson, is like the discussion in baseball right now is that what the Dodgers are doing is unfair. They got all
Hmm.
this money to spend, and they can just they can you know always offer more money than what you can. That's how they really get Kyle Tucker. And I even said that was the move that kind of made me start to be like, you know what, this does kind of suck that they got all this money, because I really have been on the side so far that if you pay your superstars, that's then that's just one less player that they can go get. Like if the Braves pay Freddie Freeman, if the Red Sox pay Mookie Betts, if the Angels pay Shohei Ohtani, like none of those guys are in Dodger uniforms. And I'll go ahead and say, shout out the A's. They
Hmm.
got their young talent locked up right now. Like because of that, the Dodgers, there's four players out there right now that are young superstars that the Dodgers aren't going to be able to go and get anytime soon. And if every other team would go out and like try to do this too, or just fork out a little bit more money to let their guys stay, we wouldn't be in this spot right now. So it kind of goes both ways. Like the big markets are always going to have more money, but if you just go ahead and give money to your player, they're not going to be able to leave. And we talked
Yeah.
about the Jose Ramirez extension with Cleveland the week before on the last show. Like same kind of deal right there. It's like, so I love what the A's are doing. They usually don't get out and spend money like this. I don't know what's going on, because like recently too, they paid Luis Severino, and it was like the second or third largest free agent contract they ever gave out. And it's like, wow, look at the A's throwing some money around. And I mean, this still isn't like bank breaking. It's still like
Yeah.
within
Yeah. Yeah.
reason for the A's to be able to afford all this, but they got the money and they're spending it, and they're putting together a really nice young team. Like, I'm excited about a batting order that's got Butler and Kurtz and Rooker and Soderstrom and Jacob Wilson now for the next 5 seasons. You're going to have all those guys together.
Hmm.
They can get some pitching down. They could be, back to being a contender out in the AL West again.
Yeah. And I look, I think that, I wish the Reds would have do that with De La Cruz. I wish they would have done that maybe 2 years ago instead of waiting till this past offseason, before last year. Um, but again, I think it's one of those things where teams have to do what they feel is best. And I think more teams, again, owners are just scared to spend money for some unknown reason. You bought a sports team. What do you think was going to happen? That's my thought process.
Like, oh, look at all these billions of dollars we made. Oh, you mean that we have to spend this to like hire players to play on the field? What? I don't get to keep all this for myself? Now, Ellie, I understand that like player by player, it might be different case by case, because you got to look at Ellie, who his agent is, and it's Scott Boras. And
Hmm.
then also the point that you made about waiting too long. Like maybe if they would have tried this sooner, they could have gotten the money. I do wonder how much money like Ellie would have been like, you know what? I will sign for that. We're
Hmm.
kind of seeing this play out with the Tigers right now with Scooble, and that's going to be a crazy arbitration hearing, because they were like, here, Tarek, we'll give you, what was it, $200 million or something like that. And it's like, are you
Yeah.
kidding me? Like, multi Cy Young winner Tarek Scooble, like, they were so far below what he was supposed to get. Like, this is going to be a very interesting arbitration hearing. And all that to say, yeah, I think case by case it's different. Like, there's just some guys where it's like, you just won't be able to. But gotta give shout out to the A's for getting this done in a timely manner when the price was going to be right. And
Hmm.
I just do wish that more teams that do have the money, like Atlanta's got money, Boston's got money, the Angels got money, just spend it smartly.
Yeah, for sure.
We do have to wrap up the show today too, some basketball moves that are going to
Yeah.
be impacting people in Ohio. And right now, I mean, by the time this show comes out, maybe we'll see that James Harden's going to be wearing a Cleveland Cavaliers
Oh,
jersey. That'd be
weird.
crazy
So
and something
weird.
I'm not really a fan of, but yeah, very weird. But one trade that did happen, DeAndre Hunter's out of the building now.
And,
It
and his and his
was
$26
one
million
that
dollar
I didn't really
contract, by the way.
understand because yeah, very team friendly there. Uh, really good defender. I mean that's kind of
Hmm.
what he would lean on and what we would lean into also was that ability. But yeah, out of the building now. What did you think of that trade? I just kind of like, why did we need to do this? I don't see how this makes us any better.
Um, I do believe that this was a good move. I think one, you got rid of that contract because they were above I think the second threshold of the luxury tax, which again is a lot of money you're paying. It brings you back down into like the normal luxury tax or something like that. And then also it saves you money next year, right? Because he had another 24 million you're paying him next year. You bring in Schroeder, who again, he'll be a very good backup point guard, but again, he can be a locker room problem, which does worry me. When they did this, I was like, okay, what are you going to do? You have now like 7 or 8 guards on the roster. Like, I know they're going to talk about moving Lonzo Ball. And this opened up the conversation. Like, you wouldn't bring in Ellis, who's a very good two-way, kind of the same way as Hunter is, but he's cheaper, he's younger. And you wouldn't bring in Schroeder if you still have a lot of these guys on the roster. And my gut was that Garland is your trade piece. I mean, Garland has not been the same in about 2 years. He's really just kind of he's basically the same thing as Mitchell, and you don't really have a guy that can. He's not really a true ball handler. And if you bring in, you talked about Harden. If you bring that in, you're basically swapping. They make the exact same money this year. It's like 38 million. You basically can swap them both for each other. Harden wants out of LA, but this is the thing. Harden's wanted out of the last 3 places he's been with in like
Yeah,
within 2 years of
shocker.
being there. Yeah. So for me, I like the move in the sense that if you bring Harden in, that takes pressure off Mitchell. But again, how would this win LeBron's kind of because I know LeBron's, he's probably leaving LA. I mean, just like they're kind of moving on. You can kind of tell the way they do things right now. And with LeBron going to be on the market next year, is James Harden being there going to be like a piece that LeBron goes, yeah, I'll come join that. I think now if you don't have that, obviously you have that chance. But also I've heard the Cavs they've been talking to the Milwaukee Bucks about Giannis. They've been talking to a few other teams about some of these other stars on these worst teams. This is the most active the Cavs have been in a very long time in the trade
I was just
deadline.
gonna say like this
Very,
is
very
like very on
often.
Cleveland like.
Yeah. And so for me, I think this showing that like they realized they screwed up last year. They had a 60 something and 16 regular season. You screw it up. You don't really have a great postseason. And I think they realized they needed to make a few changes. They looked at the Oklahoma City Thunder. They see that they had to make some changes. And I think if you put a Harden in that lineup and you have starting Harden, Mitchell, when Mobley's healthy, and you start Jared Allen, and then you throw anyone else in there in that fifth spot, I think you have a very big winning formula right here.
Yeah, I didn't realize until I just realized that the 26 million was not just the total amount, that was the annual amount. So
Yeah,
saves money there, maybe gives you money to spend on Harden. I just don't like the idea of LeBron coming over. I think this season with LA has been like incredibly damaging. I won't say it's like damaging his overall legacy because like what LeBron does at 40 isn't changing what he did at like 25 or 30 or
yeah.
anything like that. But hasn't looked very good. He's very much looking old. Uh, all that to say though, yeah, this is a little more active than I think what we're used to seeing the Cavs do. Uh, Overall, there did need to be changes made, and in the offseason, I didn't think they really did everything that they needed to do to like make sure they could be a real finals contender, but maybe they're gonna make those moves go on this season while as it's going on right now. That would be uh yeah, I don't know. Harden with Mitchell, if we're gonna get rid of I've been wanting to get rid of Garland. Excuse me. I haven't re I understand that if you're going to get rid of someone that's younger in this league, that you if you're going to try to win now, you're probably not going to have that player for very long. We probably won't have Harden very long, so it's just kind of like, man, I hope that they can make the most of this if they decide to get rid of, somebody that could be on the team for a little while longer, for somebody that might only be with us for a season or two,
Mm,
that they can make it all work. But yeah, bottom line is there are changes that need to be made, especially this season. Like the record just is not pretty right now.
no. No, and then defensively they're not where they were last year, and
That's the other thing that
they're not
happens
being able to
if you
score either.
Yeah, that's the other thing that happens if you get rid of Hunter and then you bring in Harden and you bring Schroeder in here. It's like, yeah, now you really did sacrifice some of that defense.
Yeah, but I think the biggest thing they're trying to take the ball out of Mitchell's hand, like so he doesn't have to do everything, and I
Yeah.
think that allows Mitchell to be more dangerous because if they don't guard Mitchell, now you got Harden who's averaging 25 a game. So I mean, you now have two legit 25 a game scorers, and then oh by the way, you have Mobley down underneath. Oh, and Jared Allen to deal with, and it makes it
hmm
very difficult.
Yeah. In a vacuum, I do like that lineup. I hope that it all works out for Cleveland, man. It'd be really cool if we could get a ring, another ring here in Cleveland.
And without LeBron to prove to ourselves that we can do it without LeBron.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's the
you
important
definitely need to
part.
do that. Like if we go out and try to get LeBron next year, and it really seems like he's going to be out of LA, there reports coming out that both of them seem like mutually ready to be done with each other now. See all the stuff that's coming out with from a
Yeah.
Genie Bus, and then you see Rich Paul coming out here talking, trying to lead GM his way to get Jaren Jackson, I think it was, to LA and get rid of
Hmm.
Austin Reeves. And it's like these guys and their shtick, man. Everybody's sick and tired of it right now. I think that they're tired of LeBron and Luca being minus 70 and LeBron cherry picking on defense, not getting back to guard anybody and getting all these easy points because he's just hanging out at the other end of the court, making his team play 5-on-4. I think everybody's done with that.
Yeah, and I think also like I think LeBron coming to Cleveland in a way it'd be a cool way to like for him to finish his career, but at the same time, like, dude, you had your chance. You chose to go to LA. Like the whole Kyrie thing is the reason, Brian Windhorst talks about how like he was actually wanting to stay before he went to LA. He was wanting to stay in Cleveland, but then the whole Kyrie situation. But at the same time, like LeBron, you had a chance to say, like, I forgave you the first time. And, the second time when you left, I was just kind of like, you know what? You obviously don't want to be here because you said it's all about Cleveland, but then, he wanted that more of a chance. And again, that's all his right. But I agree with you. You bring a 42-year-old LeBron in, like you can't start him. Like if you have
Right.
that lineup with what you have now, there's no you don't can't start him, but he's not going to come off the bench. Um, I think my gut is LeBron's done after this year. Is my thought is he just retires, and but again,
Without a
LeBron's one of
farewell tour,
that's the thing with LeBron. He wants a farewell tour. He says he doesn't, but he does. He wants
I
that.
think
He
he'd
wants that.
really want that.
So I'd be interested. Now again, if they can bring him on and he agrees that hey, I don't have to start, I'm okay with bringing a guy who's going to average 18, 19 a game. I'm okay with that. And a guy who can finish his career where he started. But I just don't want it to cause more issues when you already have James Harden, you already have Dennis Schroeder, you have already so many personalities, and then you add that, it just makes it a lot harder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a show.
Yeah, it is a show. But I will say, I want to leave a question for the audience. And Josh, I want to hear your thoughts. What is the most excited sport you're looking forward to watch at the Olympics coming up here in a couple weeks? What is your
Hmm.
what's the sport you're looking forward to watching the most? Even though if you don't watch the Olympics a lot, but it's like the sport like if I'm going to turn on the Olympics, I'm going to watch this sport.
Yeah, there's not really man, I'm not really familiar with the athlete selection that we got going out here right now, so I don't even know if there's anyone that like I would know. But like I said before, the events that I always get drawn to are the more like exciting, intense stuff, like the speed skating or the half pipe snowboard. The downhill skiing is always exciting to see also when they're going through
Yeah.
the course over there. So it's always usually those things. And in the past, there's been guys like Bodie Miller and Shaun White, and more recently on the girls' side, Chloe Kim and Apollo Ono with
Yeah.
the skating. Like athletes that'll draw you to those for the United States. But
Mhm.
right now, I don't know who will be there. I think Chloe Kim is still snowboarding, but a lot of the athletes that I grew up watching obviously aren't in it anymore, and I don't know who the new hot names are. So there's really
Yeah.
not like people that I'm excited to watch, but definitely like the events are still all there that I enjoy seeing.
Oh, I'm totally going for the curling. I believe that is the most fun sport to watch because it is just a bunch of grown dads with mustaches deciding that they want to curl. It is phenomenal. I found out like George Kittle and a whole bunch of like NFL players are going to start a curling league. Josh, you and I have to sign up. When I come visit, we're going to do curling because it seems so much fun to just, it just seems like a really fun sport that's not super stressful, to be honest with you.
See, you always make this comment when we bring up Olympics or like
I
sports
do.
that
It
you
just
you
is,
want to
man.
play, and I always thought it was a joke or like a typical Ben Bowden shtick,
No,
but the more
it's
you bring it up, and even like in this context, I'm like, he really wants to be a curler, man. He really
dude.
wants to be on that ice with that broom. He
I
really
don't
wants to
have to
compete in
be.
this
I
thing.
don't have to be like ripped. I can just be like a normal human. No, but I will also say I do love watching bobsled. I think bobsled's very fascinating.
Mm.
It seems a very tough sport. I think you have to be super athletic, super willing to like move and get around. It also seems very painful when you miss the bobsled. You just kind of bounce down the ramp. But no, I'm super excited. Well, if you guys go over to Fifth and Goal podcast, they actually are doing like on little shorts, they're doing breaking down every sport. So if you're interested to hear out what different sports are, head on over to their YouTube channel. It's been really cool to like, I even get to kind of learn some new stuff because there's so many interesting sports. And then in a few years, Josh, there will be the Summer Olympics in LA, but we did find out that just today that the Columbus, Ohio will be hosting some preliminary matches during the Olympics. Like I think the opening rounds will be happening in Columbus, Ohio. A few games will be happening at Crew Stadium. So I think that's really really
Mm.
cool for that, and also that we also speaking of Crew Stadium is also going to have the Columbus Aviators, the new UFL team by Ted Ginn Jr. is going to be the head coach, which is awesome, I guess. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the podcast. If you love watching, love listening, click that thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell. And if you love listening to the podcast on Spotify, make sure you share it with your friends and family, as it just allows us to have more engagement. And then, yeah, answer the question below. What is your favorite sport you're looking forward to? Or what sport are you looking forward to during the Winter Olympics? And as always, stay safe. And until next time, we'll see ya.